Look, I understand if you just came to the UFC and you're a fan of Ilia Topuria. And I understand that El Matador is walking through people left and right. What you don't understand is that El Matador will be at estar muerto if he decides to move up a weight class and fight Islam Makhachev, who will destroy him. And it'll be a grappling destruction. It'll be a very fast, easy match for Islam Makhachev for multiple reasons. Number one, Ilia Topuria will be out of his weight class. And we already see what happens when you try to move up or down a weight class. It is a lot harder to move down a weight class. So granted, he'll be able to move up. He won't have to cut as much, but he's going to be fighting a guy whose natural weight is bigger than what he fights in Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev has went through so many fucking superstars. So many. Not just one or two. Not just like names who have been softened up already here. Dan Hooker, Bobby Green, Charles Oliveira, which is when he won the belt, Alexander Volkanovski twice, and Dustin Poirier, right? And you look at Ilia Topuria, yeah, he did a fucking great job. I mean, he became the champion beating, Alexander Volkanovski, who I'm still a huge fucking fan of. Huge fan of him. But he beat him after he had to go through guys like, Islam Makhachev and Yair Rodriguez, by the way, who he beat. But it's like, he got softened up. The dude cried after he lost to Islam the second time. And so, he wasn't really going in there with a great mindset. That's not an excuse. I'm just trying to say. And then you got Max Holloway, who just fought at 155 to get the BMF belt, drops back down, and everyone said this is the best he ever looked was when he decided to fight Justin Gaethje because it was a higher weight class. And he looked drawn out, and still, even though Max Holloway had to diet down a little harder than what he normally does, yes, that is his normal weight class. I already fucking know all that shit. What I'm talking about is that he looked and felt very comfortable and mobile and fast, and he was the right size and perfect size actually for Justin Gaethje. And he just, again, like maybe it has to do with his age, but he looked sucked out and dry. However, it's not like he got his ass kicked severely. No, he did pretty good for the first 2 rounds, and then he got his ass kicked in the third one, first knockout ever of his career against a knockout artist who has one style that's very predictable. We'll get into that a little bit. But you guys think that if he fights Islam Makhachev, he has a chance. You are insane. You are absolutely insane. Not only does he not have a chance, he will be out grappling and he will be exposed for being a one-dimensional fighter. That doesn't mean that he's not a great fighter, but it will be very clear at that point that his grappling is nowhere near the level of Islam Makhachev being trained by Khabib Nurmagomedov, a legend in Sambo. By the way, it's called Russian Sambo. Why is it called Russian Sambo? Because it is actually jiu-jitsu. People say, it's a combination of judo and jiu-jitsu. That is exactly what jiu-jitsu is. It is a combination of judo and jiu-jitsu because judo is actually derived from jiu-jitsu. And a lot of people don't understand that, is that when it came over to Brazil, the guy that brought it, Conde Coma, whatever his name is, and when he taught it to the Gracies, the reason why the Gracies decided to put it on the ground is because Elio Gracie couldn't fight on top because he had no stamina. So he developed the ground game, which is why it's called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And everyone forgot, you got to start standing. And by the way, in all of the early instructional videos of every single Gracie video, go back and look at it in the 90s. They all had a strong judo game because judo is the first thing you need to do in order to get the guy to the ground. So Sambo is essentially jiu-jitsu, the traditional version, without the Brazilian jiu-jitsu from the floor. And it is a very, very powerful style that has been mastered by guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev. The thing about Islam Makhachev is every time he comes into a fight, he brings something slightly new and slightly better that you didn't expect. I mean, did anyone think that he was going to dominate Alexander Volkanovski in that second bout using a head kick? Because I sure as fuck didn't. I thought that he was going to go back and use the traditional thing that he did, which is basically smother him for a few rounds and then maybe do the striking like he did when he fought him in 2023 at UFC 284. But he decided to change his game because he saw that Volkanovski was vulnerable in the standing position if he just positioned his body in a certain way through a head kick. As a matter of fact, that's pretty much all he did. You could tell he was setting up. He threw body kicks, calf kicks, low kicks, high kicks. He mixed it up only with kicks. Obviously, he studied him and he saw that was the vulnerability. And by the way, he submitted Charles Oliveira. I mean, Charles Oliveira is a legend when it comes to submission, isn't he? There were so many people talking shit. Charles Oliveira is going to walk through this guy. I put up a video on my old account, which is now deleted because the UFC decided to take it down because I used footage, which by the way, that's why I don't use footage in this video. That's why I am making a podcast the traditional way, the way that it should be with audio only, because I don't want to have my shit being taken off of YouTube and have it being reported by some idiot saying, UFC footage, he took it, it's not good. So no, that's why I don't use video in the footage. It's not because I don't want you to see my my beautiful body and my perfect fucking face and shit, because you can see that in other videos if you'd like to. By the way, I'm being facetious, but I digress. You look at Charles Oliveira before he fought Islam Makhachev, he was on a fucking streak. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, Kevin Lee, Jared Gordon at the time, who was coming up. And, you know, it was basically submission, knockout, submission. It was like, he was a submission artist, and he'd been doing it for so long. Islam Makhachev came right in there, took him out by submission, and he did it in dominating fashion. He did something to Charles Oliveira that no one could ever do to him because they couldn't conceive of it. So when I put it out there, I was attacked for saying that Islam Makhachev would shock the world and beat Charles Oliveira, and he did. The same way, this is not going to be a shock to people who are actually studying what the hell's going on here. It will be very apparent to people. If you have any kind of, I don't know, MMA knowledge, you know, there's a stupid phrase that I cannot fucking stand. It's like, you have a high fight IQ. First of all, there's no such thing as a fight IQ. There are good fighters and there are bad fighters. Islam Makhachev is a fucking master fighter. Okay, Ilia Topuria is developing into that master fighter, but there's no such thing as a fight IQ. I mean, Tony Ferguson, would you say he has a low IQ? Excuse me, listen, I'm not even going there. That's not what I meant. Do you think that Tony Ferguson has a high fight IQ or a low fight IQ? Because a lot of you people would argue that he has a high fight IQ, but he does not, because he doesn't do that well. He's just a fan favorite. The same thing with Nate Diaz, high fight IQ, low fight IQ. No, he's a good fighter who knows how to strategize in the moment. That's not high fight IQ. That is being a brawler. So if you want to talk about someone who's smart and a very good fighter, it is the guy like the classic GSP, George St. Pierre, who used to adapt to whoever he was fighting and completely, again, shock everyone and beat people that he, quote unquote, wasn't supposed to beat because of their, quote, high fight IQ. You know what I fucking mean? It's like, stop it, guys. Stop it. Think about this logically. Islam Makhachev, 155 pounds, right? 26-1. And by the way, that one loss was way back in 2015 when he just started out, and he hasn't lost since. He has not lost since, and he won't lose for as long as he decides to fight and he doesn't do something stupid like Khabib Nurmagomedov did and fucking quit because his mom told him to. As long as he keeps fighting, he will hold that belt for as long as he can until someone else comes out of nowhere and just dominates him in the grappling, because that's not going to happen. And sure as fuck will not be Ilia Topuria. It will not be Ilia Topuria. I mean, Ilia is known way back for being a submission specialist until, interestingly, he got to the UFC and he has one submission against Bryce Mitchell. And Bryce Mitchell recently did a podcast where he was talking about this. By the way, that was back in 2022. He just did a podcast saying that he wished he could take that fight back because there were so many problems going on with him psychologically that he wasn't fully prepared. Not an excuse. I'm just trying to tell you, he didn't fight the best Bryce Mitchell, and that's why he was able to get that submission. Because if you look at every single fight besides that one, it was all knockouts. Every single one. Knockouts and fucking decisions. Here, let's see. He has one, two. He has two decision victories ever since being in the UFC. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He has 5 fucking knockouts and 1 submission. That's it. And this is a guy who started out as a wrestler. He's known as a wrestler. That's why he's called El Matador. All right. Which, by the way, you know, he's supposed to be from Georgia, but he's from Spain, and he's the most Spanish looking Georgian I've ever seen, but that's fine. That's his nationality. Great. Even though everywhere he's showing off the Spanish flag, that's fine. Doesn't matter. I think all you guys are fucking amazing no matter where you're from. When you start making a nationalistic issue, it's very stupid. Come on, it's the UFC. Doesn't really matter where you're from. And you know, I bring that up because people, you know, especially on Instagram, it's actually like a fucking pandemic. These motherfuckers will come out of nowhere, don't even care about the UFC, and they'll just keep posting flags of people in their country. And it's like, you don't even know who this fucking guy is. And by the way, it is mostly from a certain region, but I won't get into that because you guys are going to say, he's being racist. No, I'm not being racist. I'm being obvious. And it's just like, you know, you guys come in there, oh, he will win because he's from our country, brother, he's from our country. And then, you know, you post all these fucking flags. The flags don't mean shit. What means something is how good of a fucking fighter are you, no matter where you're from. But I digress. Getting back to this fight, Islam Makhachev will walk through Ilia fucking Topuria. There's not going to be a fucking Matador. Like, the fucking Matador shit is going to be fucking reversed in Islam Makhachev's favor. So when you look at Makhachev fight, he's very grappling heavy, and the only person really who gave him a hard time with finishing the grappling, other than Volkanovski, was Dustin Poirier, because Dustin Poirier really didn't want to lose that fight. He really wanted to be a champion, and he just came off a great loss off of a guy that was supposed to beat him. And it's just pure heart and dedication. You know, a lot of people bring up Khalil Roundtree for having heart. That's not having heart. He has a good chin, and like, he didn't go down fast. That's not hard to me when you just take a fucking beating and your stupid coach doesn't throw in the towel, because he might have permanent brain damage from what Alex Pereira Pereira did to him. But Hart is a guy like Dustin Poirier who says, I don't care if you have me in this position where I'm supposed to tap out. Not only am I not going to tap, but I'm going to fight back. Khalil Roundtree couldn't fight back. He was done. That's not Hart. That's fucking stupidity, and that's a demonstration of poor coaching in his corner. But I digress. Getting back to Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria, if that fight actually happens, yes, it is a fight that I'll be interested in because I'll know, I already know what's going to happen. There's no way that Ilia Topuria beats Islam Makhachev. Now, again, before you whiners, hey, why you hating? Why you hating on Topuria? On Topuria? Why you hate on Ilia Topuria like this? How come you're not saying, why am I so supportive and so confident in Makhachev's ability? Instead of saying, you hate Topuria, you jealous? No, I'm not jealous of this guy. He's fucking 5'8". Yeah, he has a beautiful fucking wife and a beautiful family and all these women surrounding him. Wow, that's fantastic. Which by the way, it's very interesting, right? Because he had all that before he came into the UFC, and he's married to a woman who didn't take his last name. Very interesting. And she's apparently this very powerful person in Spain or something. And he has this like multi-million-dollar house, which he sure as fuck did not purchase with his UFC money. So he either has independent wealth or he married through wealth or something, because the way that he carries himself, there's no way in hell that he got that money from fighting. But I digress. So anyway, Topuria is gonna have to put on 10 fucking pounds of fighting weight, okay? And against the guy who I think walks around maybe at 190, 180 in the offseason. I could be wrong about that. But just look at how ripped and powerful and shredded and active he is in that 155 class. I mean, lightweight is a perfect class for Islam Makhachev in the same way, in the very same way, that featherweight is a perfect weight class for Ilia Topuria. He's not going to be able to be as mobile. He might have a slightly better chin, but chin isn't going to matter when you have a guy grappling you who's been taught by, again, Khabib Nurmagomedov. I shouldn't say taught by, because both of them really were taught by Khabib Nurmagomedov's late father. I mean, let's be honest, like Khabib is in the corner shouting instructions at him, which he undoubtedly will be if this fight takes place, which I really hope it does, just to shut people up. And it will be Ilia Topuria's first loss. Not that I want the guy to lose, but I can just tell that he's a phony. Like all this, like, he wants to play the bad guy. And it's very annoying when he plays the bad guy because you could tell he's really not the bad guy. And you could tell it's forced because just like some of the shit he says and does, he wants to be a superstar, and he is, and he loves the camera and he embraces the camera, but he's not really an asshole because, like I said, you don't acquire that kind of wife or family or money if you're an asshole outside of fighting. And Islam Makhachev is a pure fighter. He doesn't care about money, even though it's nice to have. He doesn't leave his country. He's dedicated to all the people that brought him there in terms of his support team, in terms of Khabib. And you look at Ilia Topuria, it's like, well, he just wants that fame, and he's getting that fame, and he's talking shit about everyone. Like, he talks shit about everyone. Islam Makhachev doesn't talk shit about people. As a matter of fact, even with this thing with the Dustin Poirier that like took place because there was a miscommunication with the motherfucker comment from Dustin Poirier at the weigh-in. I mean, afterwards they were friendly, and the same thing with Alexander Volkanovski. They were friendly afterwards, and even Charles Oliveira. But you get this fucking Ilia Topuria. It's like all the shit he spoke to Max Holloway. It's like, oh, I just say this for promotion. It's like, no, you said it because you're trying to be an asshole, and to be a fake asshole and to not back it up makes you a bigger asshole than what you were. So I really don't like him as a person. I like him as a fighter. I find him interesting. But Islam Makhachev, I like as a human being, and I am going to always support the human over the idiot who talks shit about everyone, especially in the UFC at this point. I understand in the past when it was just starting out, and the UFC was basically dominated by a lot of people who were just tough guys, and being a tough guy will get you really far back then because no one really had any kind of fighting skills except for Royce Gracie and like a few other guys who came in there early, like of course Ken Shamrock and all of the earlier guys from like the first 5 UFCs. But a lot of these guys that came in there were just lying about having a black belt in certain styles, which number one were just made up on the fucking spot. That's not a joke. They were lying about their records. They were lying about even belonging to a certain gym because they had to come up with something in order for there to be a show. A lot of these guys were just like brawlers, and the only guy who really told the truth, talking about, well, he didn't really have a fucking skill other than beating people up, was Tank Abbott. But now you're filled with people who have multiple skills, and the multiple skill right now is MMA. Like, MMA is a martial art. That is the name of the martial art, because you need to be a good striker, you need to be a good grappler. Okay, there are some exceptions, like let's say Alex Pereira, who doesn't have to demonstrate his grappling, but he is a black belt, as we all witnessed, and that is a legitimate black belt. I hear like people talk a lot of shit. It's like, he's not really a black belt because Glover Teixeira Topuria, his coach gave him one. Well, morons, who else is supposed to give you your fucking black belt? Some random fucking black belt organization overseas in Brazil that like evaluates everything you do? You do not do a berimbolo, therefore no black belt. You stay brown to stripe. No. Your coach is the one who evaluates you. He's the one that's supposed to promote you when he sees that you're ready for your black belt. Oh, he only got promoted because, he had a dominating performance. How do you know, idiot, that Glover Teixeira said, I'm going to give him his belt if he wins tonight, even though I should have given him the black belt before the fight because it makes it a more memorable moment for his family and his kids, and it's on TV and people get to see it and it's kind of cool and the fans are going to enjoy it. No, you cynical fucking motherfuckers. Oh, he's not a black belt because he hasn't fucking showed it. Like, first of all, how many people have dominated him on the ground? 0. Oh, well, he hasn't fought a fucking grappler. Oh, yes, he has. He's fought people who couldn't fucking grapple him. Oh, well, Yuri Prochazka really isn't a grappler. Okay, what about Jan Blachowicz, who basically took him down and couldn't keep him fucking down, and he still got dominated? Jan Blachowicz used grappling to beat Israel Adesanya, first loss in the UFC, and it's just like, you people come up with shit because you're casuals, and you just repeat what other stupid podcasts say. Like, you're not even paying attention to the UFC commentators. Like if you're gonna repeat stupid shit, then repeat the stupid shit that are said by people like Daniel Cormier, who's obsessed with wrestlers, or the stupid shit from Joe Rogan, like I've said before. He's breathing through his mouth. He must be tired. Then I guess I'm fucking tired because I'm breathing through my mouth too. What am I supposed to breathe through my fucking asshole or my belly button? But I digress. So Islam Makhachev, pure fighter. He's a pure fighter. And if Ilia Topuria thinks that he's going to have a remote chance, if you think Ilia Topuria has a remote chance against Islam Makhachev in his weight class, you are crazy. You're absolutely fucking insane. Moving up a weight class for Ilia Topuria is certain death. It is lost. But it helps Topuria because he gets to keep his belt. And if in some alternate fucking universe in 0.0000001% of the fucking universe is where he does win, then he gets to be a fucking double champion, which he will not be, even though he bought the fake BMF belt, which is pure fucking cringe. Islam Makhachev moving down a weight class would be interesting. Everyone wins in this situation because no one would expect Islam to go down to that weight class, which he won't because he already has a hard time cutting that 155. I mean, in that situation, it would be like a Max Holloway thing where, he over dieted and he's not going to be as strong and the grappling will be weak and he won't have the muscle strength. But El Matador moving up 10 pounds to lightweight from featherweight. Bro, don't even think about it. Again, I personally would like to see it because it would be so awesome to see Makhachev defend his belt against Topuria, especially that guy, because I don't like him. I don't like Topuria, but I love Makhachev and I love the fact that he's so underrated and no one pays attention to him and what a dominant fucking fighter he is, because he deserves all the respect and attention of one of the greatest of all time, and he doesn't fucking get it enough because he's not a shameless self-promoter like guys like Conor McGregor or like Ilia Topuria, who now is so fucking popular that people say stupid shit on video comments that I make. It's like, I get this one guy talking about, he used leg kicks all the time. You know that like 5 fights ago, which was not that long ago for Ilia Topuria, he threw 0 leg kicks and he won. And he gradually increased the amount of leg kicks, but he did use leg kicks in round 1 effectively against Max Holloway, like I predicted he would in a video that I made before that, where I gave both scenarios as to what each person would have to do. Holloway didn't do shit as to what I said. I also predicted, I fucking predicted, go back and watch, it's on this page, and listen to the whole video. Don't just listen to the short clip because I put those up so you people can fucking see. Don't go by the video fucking title. I mean, I'm talking for like a half an hour over here. It's like, guys, there's a lot of shit being said. I didn't just say that Holloway could win because of this. I said, if Ilia Topuria does these 3 things, he'll be able to win. And it's like he followed exactly what I said, and I predicted he would win in the 3rd round in the traditional style of Ilia Topuria if he was very leg kick heavy in the 1st round, right? And then he did a very specific strategy, which I am not going to repeat. You go back and listen to the podcast in the 2nd round, which he did. And then he can go back to the classic Ilia Topuria and have the combo in the cage corner because, well, anyway, I don't want to get into that. So I fucking digress. All right. I digress. And now I continue back. Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria at lightweight will basically hand El Matador, Ilia Topuria, his first loss in the UFC. Ilia Topuria, piece of advice. Do not fight Islam Makhachev. It is not good for you. You might want to pick someone else, although I don't know who the hell you would fight, because let's see who else is in your weight class right now that would make it fucking interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that there's someone fucking coming up at some point that would be kind of cool. I mean, do you want to fight Volkanovski again? I don't think so. I mean, maybe you want to give Bryce Mitchell a rematch. Yeah, that would be cool in terms of fighting, but we know that the fans don't like it. I would like it. That's fine. Yeah, pretty much you have no options. And so the only thing you could really do is, I guess, guess, fight someone for a BMF title because you're so obsessed with having it. I mean, 16 wins, no losses. You're 27 years old. You got a lot of potential. The worst thing you could do is fight Islam Makhachev, 26-1, current lightweight champion, dominates fucking everyone, dominates world champions, moves up in the rankings of the greatest of all time. Okay, you will never, ever, ever beat Islam Makhachev at lightweight. Featherweight, maybe, but Makhachev is not that stupid and he's not that desperate to go down to your fucking weight class to try to prove that to you. So if you want to take out the king, go meet the king on his turf. And when you do, El Matador will become El Muerte.